Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Culture Wave Media, and today we are talking about the much anticipated Invincible Season 3 finale. I am here, Sean Villa, and I am joined by the wonderful, the illustrious Mikey Peniston.
Oh, thank you, Sean. Hello, everybody.
And the equally wonderful and illustrious Vinny Albano.
Hello.
Guys, banger episode.
Yes.
I am psyched to talk about it. I will let you guys go first. Let's go through some overall thoughts, opinions. Take it away, somebody.
This was such a banger. I've been going. All right, you know what? I'm going full force in. I'm going balls to the walls. Maybe not spoilers,
Okay.
but I'm going in. This is my second favorite episode of the entire series.
Oh, there it is.
This is my previous favorite episode of this series was season 1, episode 8, the finale, the Omni-Man fight. Right. This is my second favorite. I think that the level of hype was insane. This was like anime level of hype, like just crazy destruction, epic action. Sean, you even said like it is clear that they put the budget into this episode.
Yeah.
There's an example of character acting animation that is probably, I think, the best cut of animation in the entire series, which is definitely saying something. Yeah, that's my broad thoughts.
What was the term you just used? Character actor animation?
Character acting. So
Okay.
that's referring to like whenever when a cut of animation is focusing purely on the
Facial
emotion, the quote unquote acting.
Okay.
Obviously, it's
Gotcha.
2D, so it's not real acting, but it's voice acting. But
Right.
yeah.
No worries.
Mike,
Do
you
you,
wanna...
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna match you for sure with that. I don't know if I'm gonna say it's the second up there. It's up there. It's a top 5 episode for me. But this episode was for sure incredible. I think there were so many states to it. I feel like that I wasn't fully prepared for. Again, I don't know the level of how much you guys know with Invincible and like as far as the book lore and like the knowledge of. I don't know too much about this, so you don't. Yeah, then everything is equally new, I guess, to all of us. So this was just insane. I feel like this did compete with the Omni-Man fight for sure. If not, it raised a few extra states. Just there were a few other little elements. Again, I don't want to no spoilers yet, but there were a few other states I feel like that not only set this apart from that Omni-Man fight, but it greatly affects the future of Viltrumites coming to battle Invincible and just on Earth, I feel like. And so I'll leave it there, I think, just because there's a lot I could say, but there's a lot of spoilers I could get into. So I'll pass it back.
I'm pretty much in the same boat with both of you. I think Vinny, you might be onto something with this being the second best episode of the show. It's definitely up there for me, at least probably top 3. The spectacle of this is really kind of what like took me aback, because I've been waiting for the show to go like balls to the wall in a spectacle kind of way, in the same way. Like I know I've been on a couple episodes talking about this season of the show, and I bring up this damn train scene like all the time, just because I think like that level of just like shock and like stakes and it feels like so huge, and like even though the moment is personal, it feels like something that's just like it's not something you see on television that often. This is the kind of like grandiose finale that I was waiting for this show to have. I think this like clears the angstrom finale of season 2. Every aspect of the show that I kind of come to, I feel like its quality was really like just pushing on all cylinders here. As you mentioned, Vinny, I said prior to us starting the recording that though I have some animation problems with the season as a whole, I think they saved it for this episode. This episode feels like they worked on it for like 4 years, whereas some of the other episodes, specifically like episode 5, I feel like what happened, guys? Like we needed like an extra month on this one. This one I didn't feel that way at all. It felt polished. The choreography was amazing. Yeun, as always, came in, was just tearing it up. The guest voice roles, which we'll get into, incredible here. Yeah, man, I think just there's really not much here that I have to complain about. And the little things that I'll nitpick later, I think are trumped by just how grandiose it was as a whole.
100%.
Yeah, do you guys want to go into spoilers?
Oh,
I feel like we
please,
should. I think we
right?
should just
Yeah.
break into it
Yes.
because there's so much I want to talk about. Okay, so tell me if you guys want to start elsewhere. I think we should just start with Conquest. Jeffrey
Oh, yeah.
Morgan's
Yeah.
Viltrumite, the new unit that drops down to Earth and proceeds to fucking take over the show and is, I mean, what a character, man.
Oh, yeah.
What a character. This man's alive for 15 minutes or longer. I'm watching you, Invincible creators, not killing people. And we have that little post-credit scene. Don't get ahead of myself. Yeah. I've heard some comic things about Conquest. I watched the show with some friends that are comic readers. I'm not. So I go in relatively spoiler-free every time. But then usually when we kind of wrap up the episodes, I'll be told about like what's different from the comics. And what I was told here is that Conquest is way more human in this episode, which I think is like so fascinating because that motherfucker is twisted in this shit. So apparently that whole like I'm so lonely speech that he has,
I wanted to talk about that.
Completely show original. Now I think that is maybe the best part of this episode because that gives me so much insight into him. It gives me so much insight into the culture of the Viltrumites, and then from a thematic perspective, it's Mark. That's like that same fear that he has of like everyone's afraid of how powerful I am is reflective of Mark's theme through this entire season.
That's good.
Yeah, dude, I was eating that up. I love that. That kind of like subtext is fantastic, and the fact that that's show original just tells me that the adaptation as a whole is penned by some really creative writers and some people that really care about the source material and know what the hell they're doing. From an action standpoint, the shit that they make this dude do with like the physical atrocities that this man is committing is nuts. The blood bubble that he blows in space is wild.
Yeah.
All of the limb breaking that he's doing. He wants to rip Oliver in half. He's talking about eating this man's heart. It is just like some crazy shit, and I was so here for it. I was so here for it. Because I've been complaining to, I know I've complained to you, Vinny, about how this show occasionally will go into I'm Toilet Man, I'm gonna flood the city, and now we're back to Viltrumite. That's like I'm gonna rip out your heart, I'm gonna fucking kill your girlfriend, I'm going to genocide this whole planet. This is the tone that this show needed, and it's set up in that season 1 finale, and we never got back there until now. These fucking space Hitlers come down and they're here to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And I love it, dude. I love it. And I'm glad that the tone stayed where it was from that first episode. We kept riding this high and it went crazier than the episode preceding. So yeah, man, just hype train did not let up. I loved it.
100%.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that because I was also told by a friend that was show original. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, no way. Because we're introduced to Conquest essentially this episode at the very end of last episode. We only spent like half an episode with him, and yet he still feels like such a strong character. One, because obviously we've built up throughout the entire series now the power and the evilness of the Viltrumites, but seeing his character development through the means of the fight, which I love when a great action series, John Wick does that incredibly well, where they'll introduce characters through the action and they will develop the characters through the actions, the means that the characters take within the action. And so the story is still going at rocket speed, yet little things like the heart blood bubble, or even that speech, that little speech about loneliness, develops the character so much where we don't need anything else. We just have that and it's perfect. And that just little thing, that little speech about loneliness and how he's feared and how he doesn't even deserve a real name. They just give him the name Conquest because that's what he's best at. I was like, oh my, that's a great villain right there. That is a great villain. And it amazes me that the character was only introduced here, last episode. And yet he has the look of a great villain. Even from the arm to the eye, the scar, the tank-like build,
Yes.
the just the persona, everything. This is a really great example of introducing a villain and doing him well in such a short period of time.
Yeah. And I love how much is
Yeah.
unexplained about him.
Yeah.
Like you bring up all that cool stuff like his robot arm. He doesn't. I love that they restrain themselves from being like, you don't want to know how I got this robot arm. Like he doesn't do
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's just character.
Mhm.
And I love that because you don't need to know what happened. You just need to know like yeah, dude. Like he's been tearing up so long that his
Yeah.
fucking arm got ripped off. He has a giant scar across his eye. He's blind in one eye. His like teeth are like noticeably kind of like gross and
Jacked
weird.
up, right?
Yeah, man. Mikey, what do you think about Conquest?
Oh my gosh. So Conquest, I agree, is not at all what I was expecting, but it is, I feel like, the best example, like you said, of a villain not only in this world of Invincible, but honestly, like one of the best villain examples I've seen in just in a while on screen, to be honest. I'm so happy that we jumped immediately right into it, like following the end of last episode. I feel like I want to go into that monologue little speech that he had, just because I wasn't expecting it, and I equally felt like that made him so much more menacing. It was like to have him standing over Mark in that moment while also being so real. It brought out a side of like Norman, and that's why I keep comparing the fight, because it was like the thing about this fight was that it was so brutal and it matched Norman, but also whereas with Norman it was like,
Are you talking about Omni-Man?
Omni-Man.
Oh,
yeah.
Nolan.
I'm
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Green Goblin.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out.
I'm sorry, Willem is on the mind. Sorry.
You're good.
No. So what's it called? Nolan. I'm sorry, guys. They're gonna eat me up in the comments.
No, you're good.
Nolan. What's it called? There was so much heart with it because it was like a father-son sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it was like he was like literally beating a lesson into him,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the same thing with this, where he was like, Conquest was trying to beat a lesson into him. It was like, we're gonna get you stronger, we're gonna do this. But there was also a side of like, I'm having fun, like I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I would love to see like people die in the process. Whereas with Nolan, like he wasn't trying to kill the people. I think he was just more so trying to teach the lesson. So like I think that also made it menacing. But then to hear that like that vulnerable side with it is like, I don't know, it you just don't really see that a lot. I feel like with villains, you have like that, like I'm the best, I'm the strong, like sort of like typical monologue from a villain. So to have this matched with the action that we got with it, I just feel like again it made Conquest stand out than any other example that we've seen of a villain so far. I want to compare it to the Nolan fight, just because there were so many little things I feel like that made this. And now that I honestly did not look at it in like a way of comparing, especially that the whole monologue speech to Mark. But now that you bring that up, I'm really reanalyzing all of this completely. Like you're realizing that they all these Viltrumites kind of feel the same sort of way. And so to hear them express sort of feeling, knowing that they can't, in these moments of like doing what they've been trained to do and kill, I don't know, it's just something that it really, the Viltrumites really interest me as like a whole. And so, but back to this fight, it was so crazy. To the animation point, I'm so happy you guys brought up like just how good this animation was, because that it's like unmissed just how beautiful this animation is. There were moments during this fight where it was like, honestly, I got like, I don't really even watch anime, but I'm like, oh wait, like I feel like this is like really spot on anime fighting. What you said, what was the exact term that you used again?
Character acting.
Character acting. I feel like we got so much of this in both Conquest and Mark. Mark's performance, like you said, Steven Yeun's, he always kills it with just acting, but also this was the most I've seen Mark actually like express like emotion in a while. And I mean, rightfully so, like to see what Conquest was doing with no mercy and laughing while doing it all, to Eve, to everything. I'll use Eve as like a transitional point with what I'm saying, just because I feel like she played such an important role in this battle too, and I'll kind of just pass it on to one of you guys if you want.
I mean, I think what you struck on something that I think is really interesting about just like what this show does with the Viltrumites as a whole, which is that it kind of gives them like you said, like a great villain motivation of just like, I just like love killing, which is like inherently like scary and intimidating, and like a lot of villains have that. But then what I think they do that's so interesting is they bake in like a tragic like sense to that. Like they bake in tragedy with that, where he's like, you can kind of analyze through that speech that it's like, okay, yes, like this is someone that like enjoys the battle, but like not because he's like just violent and sadistic. It's because like this is the only time that he feels something. Because like he's so alone, he has like no purpose, that like this is something that he can like actually feels like he can express some kind of like high emotion in. So it's like that's like really rich character storytelling.
100%.
Like that's really well done, and like that is the kind of writing that like you don't see too frequently, especially in like one-off week one villain, right? So I guess we're gonna jump into Adam Eve. So I think she comes in, kind of saves this fight, which is sick. All right, ready? Nitpick one, dude. Where the hell were the rest of the people? Because Conquest dies, and then they're like, they show up on the beach, and they're like, oh my gosh, like wow, we like just missed the battle, like oh darn it, you know, like dude, you had like the whole Justice League, and they were like all together for this fucking last week, and then they waited. They were like, oh, I hope Mark can handle this, like scratching their head. Whatever, dude. Eve shows up because she's the real one. We see some like new powers from her. I mean, an accentuation of kind of like the powers that they teased in I think it's episode 5, where she like gets the like anime armor for the first time. I like that. I think that her building like pink glass was kind of getting boring for me, which she still does, but she's doing it in a cooler way now, where she's got like a big mace and like armor for herself, and is kind of like zipping around, shoots a laser and shit. I think, you know, once we get to that, I don't even know where they fight, but it's sort of like a tropical looking.
It's in Italy, actually.
Oh, it's Italy. Okay, so it was when they go to damn R.I.P. my people, they got destroyed. They get to this like beach, and I think from there on out, the fight choreography really is just like fantastic. It feels a lot more personal. It feels not that the prior segment was bad. I think it's fantastic, but it's a lot of like he goes through a building, now he's in space, and like it feels like so grand that it's like losing a little bit of the like gritty kind of like personal one-on-one that latter segment has. I think what I noticed that I'm kind of on the fence about, just like in terms of meaning, is when Conquest is initially taking him to that area, he does the Omni-Man thing. He does the train thing, and he grabs him by the neck, and he's fucking pushing him through people again. Dude, poor Mark, man.
Right.
He gets the trauma again. And I'm curious as to what that means, because I've noticed a couple times, and I think I brought it up last week with Mark, that they occasionally will do animation with Mark the character, not Mark our co-host, where they grab. So like, all right, in the last episode when the Invincible variant is fighting Darkwing and like Immortal and all them, there's a shot that is like frame for frame the exact same scene where I think Mark like grabs one of them and slams them down, exactly like how Omni-Man does in that like Guardians fight in the first episode. And then there's scenes with Mark killing the Reaniman, where he does like the same kind of moves and the same framing. So they're comparing Mark like to Nolan. And now they have Conquest kind of doing a similar thing, where I think it's trying to say something about like how similar they all are. And that's where like I think my brain started flaring up about the like I'm lonely speech, is that really like they're all kind of the same. Like they have similar struggles, and I love that they keep bringing up this narrative that Mark is terrified of becoming these people, and I think that's why they're doing it. Is they're like, like you are all kind of like intrinsically similar, and it only takes like, you know, they're having like reverse arcs. Like Mark is like, it takes like only a couple fucking bad things for him to become Omni-Man, and then Omni-Man is like getting the emotion and is like maybe able to kind of become more like Mark, and I love that. I love that everyone's sort of at this baseline, and you feel like either any of them can go to high or low. I think that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's my interpretation of it, because like even look at Omni-Man in season 2, where we see what happened immediately after the Invincible fight, he's in like this terrible state of loneliness and terrible state of just, isolation. He's like about to kill himself, going into the black hole. And then he starts a new family, and he has Oliver, but then that gets wiped away, and now he's back on the ship, and he's ready to just die. He's like, yeah, I'll be executed, and now Alan comes in, obviously, right? So I think they are trying to say that the Viltrumites are almost like genetically like that it's almost like weird to say, because they want to propose that their purpose is conquest, but conquest is not, it's a toxic purpose. It's only going to make the person further isolated and feared and lonely. So yeah, it's really interesting. I think they are trying to draw that similarity between all the Viltrumites. But yeah, that was just my comment on that.
I love that the show is as violent and as like occasionally horrifying as it is, and yet still it kind of has that underlying theme of just like, really, what we all need, just a little loving. That's nice, dude. That rocks. Cool. All right, I'm with that theme, and I like that that hasn't come off as cheesy to me yet. It hasn't come off as this thing of like, get out of here, because Mark, which I guess will kind of take us to the end. I'm not really sure if I'm skipping over too much, but Mark's last line is, I think it's something along the lines of, anyone that threatens my family, I will kill them, like without hesitation, or something like that. Which is not the very fun-loving, like, all we need is a little bit of loving, to that, like, I feel like the show is kind of pushing that theme. So I like that we're taking our time with Mark's character arc, because I have a feeling that the show is going to go on for a lot longer. And I love that we're not settling his arc yet, and they're really taking their time with this like violent and inherently like tumultuous and interesting arc with Mark. Just about like he's not emotionally intelligent enough to kind of figure out like where his boundaries are. It's like the start of the season, I don't want to hurt anybody no matter what. Now at the end of the season, I will fucking kill anyone that comes near my family. And those are like two extremes, and they're both like so understandable in terms of like what's happening within the show. And I love that they're not like, they haven't given him this scene to just kind of figure out like, oh, like here's my really like complicated but like understanding of like how morality works for myself. Like he's a kid still. Like I think he's like 19 or something.
That's so true. Like honing in especially on that part as far as him being a kid and all of them being kids, like even like Adam, all of them being kids. I feel like we're seeing exactly how a kid would play it out, but I feel like they also have balanced the maturity with it at the same like level, especially now throughout the seasons. Little things that like, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, Oliver can annoy me a lot, but like even just seeing like the little things that he's doing over Oliver and like the midst of a battle and things like that, and even back to the whole love thing. I feel like at the end scene when we had the funeral scene, it's moments like that where it's like you could go through like all of this destruction, like you said, and like all this pain, and like Mark could go through all of this, but then you could have like a moment like that. So still with like these characters, and not to say Mark had a lot to do with that. I think Adam Eve's what's it called, her speech at there, that kind of honed in more into like the whole love aspect of this, that like like there's still love at the end of everything that we're going through, but still there's just such like a maturity level that we're seeing with these characters that I feel like is so spot on, while remembering that, like you said, they're still kids, which is it's good. I enjoy that a lot.
I'm gonna go off topic. I'm gonna pivot, I apologize. But one real quick, speaking of Adam Eve, actually no, that's where I'll pivot towards. I'll keep my other thought for later. Adam Eve, it's been a while since I saw the special. I don't know if that power that the second, like the reawakening, was teased in the special.
It was.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Okay.
I'm in the same boat as you. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, I think, does she revive herself like just like that in the special?
I don't think it's a revive situation. I think she just uses full ability. She has the ability to use it. So
Mm.
this is
Gotcha.
the first time. It's funny because the Adam Eve special came on right after this, and I just kept watching. I was like, "Oh snap! What? Like what?
New
We've seen this
episode.
before?"
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was very cool. Because I feel like I swear I saw it before.
Yeah.
And now thank you for reminding me that. Her getting her face bashed in, like I audibly gasped. I was like, holy shit. And then obviously she comes in clutch, which I just love it. I don't want to sound like if you know audiences at home who are watching this, if you've seen our previous videos, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. But really, the chemistry between Mark and Adam Eve here, and building her character as so much more than just a love interest, you know. And I wasn't an Amber hater. I actually really liked Amber in the second season, but I will say I do enjoy Adam Eve in that position. And seeing her act the love come in during the action in the battle, it's done right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not done as like a cheesy like you feel that rage of like you're harming someone I dearly love. And I going back to like the I compared this whole episode to anime. It feels very anime, but in the right way of like the rage moments of like, oh, I'm releasing all my power, right? And they go fucking ballistic. And I just thought it was done right. I thought it was done right. And I'm also the cliffhanger of Mark's suit melting away. I think she's becoming radioactive. That's my theory.
Oh, right. I was looking at that, and I totally would have forgotten to bring that up. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great theory because I had no idea what the hell that was. I figured that was just like something that would be revealed later about like I don't know. They have a lot of post-credit stuff with like different antagonists. I figured that was a similar thing where people that have read the comics will be like, "Oh, dude, that's Goo Dude. He's gonna come in, you know, like I don't know." But yeah, no, that makes sense. Radioactive powers, and I guess the implication of that could be very interesting.
Yeah, because like her whole powers, you know, changing the chemical construct of matter, right? Adam Eve, the atom bomb. You're splitting an atom.
Look at that, dude.
What if she just becomes a nuclear warhead? You know, she just fucking blows up and destroys a nation. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think just the implication. I'm not a science major, but from the thin science knowledge that I know, I think she's becoming radioactive. I think she is.
I'm gonna agree to your point too. Yeah. I agree. I think she is becoming radioactive. I feel like when we saw what she was able to do to Conquest alone in a few seconds, I definitely agree that she's becoming it. The suit, I forgot about the suit thing too as well. But what was I gonna say? Dang it. To the whole radioactive portion of that's what I was gonna say. They really need to turn off this whole setting herself back with her powers because what do you mean that she could do things like this and could have done something like this from the very beginning? And
yeah, see, I understand it from a like semantics level.
Yeah,
because I love the like reveal here that like because like kind of like what you were touching on, Vinny. I don't know how I totally would have felt if she had died here and it was like, wow, we built up Eve's character just to have her killed as like motivation for the epic man to like, you know, like I could see that being like kind of annoying. So I like that it kind of worked both ways. And I think like that's sort of an emphasis on like the strength of the relationship in the show. Yeah. Is that like, yeah, like they're both fighting for each other and that's love, you know, sweet. Yeah. But yeah, I think so like her being able to do that in this scene works. But her being able to do that all the time would be like, again, I think Robert Kirkman just can't have her do that because then he can't have his street level crime. You know, like Mark still needs to get his ass whooped. Eve still needs to get her ass whooped from time to time. So her being like a demigod like she is here and Mark being like fully like raged out all the time would just kind of make the show like a little boring. You know, I
Yeah,
think it would be too powerful. So I agree. It's sort of like weak reasoning. It's just like, oh yeah, like from the womb she was programmed to like not be. It's like okay, but like whatever. I understand why it's there.
Yeah,
so it doesn't bother me like too much. It'll make
Mhm.
for more interesting conflict, I guess.
Yeah, you're right.
But
Yeah, sorry, Mikey, were you gonna?
No.
say
You go
something?
ahead.
I want to bring up a nitpick, a flaw.
Okay.
yes.
And I didn't notice this until I saw someone online bring this up. Cecil's decision of keeping Conquest alive. And it's like, Cecil's very smart. He always makes the smartest, right? And it's like, okay, this
Yeah.
dude's gonna fucking break out, obviously.
Right.
And they keep the body intact. And I can agree with that complaint because it just doesn't seem like a smart Cecil thing of like we're just gonna keep him way down underground. If he even flinches, the place will explode. But it's like
Right.
bro can survive a volcano. Like like I don't think an explosion's gonna do much, right? I think, right? Obviously the show has already been written, but if I was in the writer's room, I would have had it be like I would have had Conquest become a talking head. Like they have
in a jar.
yeah, like in the jar. So like cuz they have the technology. Like we saw it with Cecil's assistant, I forget his name. The one with the glasses, who's a
Donald.
robot. Donald, right? So Donald, his whole body's a robot. He comes back. They have the technology, and also the Immortal got fucking decapitated like 3 times now, and they just keep putting his head back on. So if they should have just chopped off his head, had no body, and just a talking head. So it's like, he could regenerate his face.
Right.
And then they could ask him questions about the Viltrum Empire, but they have no risk of him breaking out.
I mean, I love the comedy of that situation. That would be freaking sick if it was just a floating head and he was just like, kill yourself. No, I'm not helping you. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I agree with your general point about Cecil. I do kind of feel like it's out of character for him. Is this a show thing? This feels kind of like it's a show thing.
Actually, I was told it's in the comics. Actually.
Okay, so this is a source material thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it either. It does feel like we've kind of been led to believe that like he's a little smarter than that. Like, but I mean, again, I'm just hoping that this is probably some reason to get Conquest back out there so that we can do some other fight. Which again, I don't know if I love because this is another Mark killed somebody. No, he didn't actually. Nobody dies. But I love Conquest. So after this one episode, so I'm kind of glad that they're apparently setting up for there to be more of him because I feel like he's got to break out, right? He's definitely gonna break out.
Yeah.
And I think Cecil kind of like lamely setting up a trap is like not the best way for him to come back. It probably could have been done in a smarter way, but I don't really have an idea off the top of my head, so like I guess I'm okay with it. Yeah, it's weird for Cecil's character. I'll back you up on it. I don't. It's not like character ruining. I wouldn't consider it like a character assassination, but it is a little silly, I think.
I have noticed with this season, especially with Cecil, that he's putting a lot of trust in the technology and the weapons that he has access around him. And like, you see they're like building up these like android things that are gonna like help against any sort of future attack. He had the room with Mark that was like, like this is for my protection against you. Like clearly, like he views the Viltrumites as clearly like a threat as they are. But you're right. I do think that was out of place. I think it was out of place for Cecil, but I think for Cecil this season, again, I think that we're seeing him kind of like make a few dumb moves. I don't want to say fully dumb, but I think that in an act of fear of Invincible and the Viltrumites and what could come after past experiences, I think that he's like, no, like we need to be prepared against him. And I think at some point we're gonna like he as a character is gonna realize that like there is no amount of technology on Earth that we could do. I think that will probably prevent like anything with this. And so I agree. I think that's it's not in line of character. I feel like with Cecil, it will be something. I think like you guys are hinting at, like a breakout situation. I think that there's gonna be at some point some Viltrumite battle where it's gonna be like Mark and maybe Alan and Norman. I did it again. Oh my god, Nolan.
That YouTube comment is gonna be so pissed off at you.
I'm really bad with names, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I do think there's gonna be some battle where we'll get a few of these Viltrumite characters coming back, and even more that we haven't probably learned about yet. And so I do think it was a dumb decision, but it is fully story based.
Yeah. I don't know. Mark's doing everything in his power, or sorry, Cecil's doing everything in his power to like weird Mark out and piss him off. Yeah. It's like we just got over this hump where he's like kind of cool with working with you again, and it's like you're using like alternate corpses of him to like make robot soldiers, dude. It's like, what are you doing? Dude, he's gonna crash out. Yes. Like you're trying to provoke him. You're poking the bear. You kept the fucking Viltrumite alive. I agree. Cecil in this episode, not the strongest writing, but everything else is so great that I'm like kind of just like, all right, they'll fix it. They'll figure it out. I'm sure. Whatever. I have faith. So we'll see. Yeah. Anything else we want to cover here?
I wanted to bring up the post-credit scene. Damien Darkblood, who I really enjoyed in season 1. He's back. Now I've been told by a friend who this is show original. Supposedly. My friend he read the comics up until like the Conquest fight. And he didn't continue it, but he said that like upon looking at the arcs of the comics, he could be completely wrong, but I'm trusting his word on this. He said that there originally was planned to be a Hell arc, but they cut it from the comics. But now we're getting it here.
We're getting cut content.
Yeah, I'm interested. I have nothing really to comment on what it could be, but definitely cool.
Yeah, they set up two things that I feel somewhat iffy on. They set up the like Mars aliens, I think are what those are, right?
Yeah, they're back.
Like we fought them before. They're not inherently an interesting creature, I think. Like they're just like a hive mind. So it's like, all right, cool. Like Mark's gonna beat up some possessed firefighters or something. And then what the hell were we just talking about? The devil. Yeah, the devil guy is like, I like him in season 1, but it sort of feels like a character like Hopper in Stranger Things is almost how he feels, where it's like season 1, they both have like a very distinct purpose. It's like this Damien Darkblood is like a detective. He's sort of like otherworldly and like cool and mysterious, so nobody really trusts him. We as the audience don't know how to trust him, but he's like investigating Omni-Man, right? That was his role. He was that guy. Yeah. So he's like looking into the mystery, and he like serves that function really well, being like intriguing, whatever. Now they're bringing him back, and it seems like he's in a completely different role. He's season 4 Hopper now, where he's like fighting a Demogorgon in prison or whatever. Stranger Things spoilers. Where I kind of feel like, all right, I like this character. He's cool, but it's like this is like not the role that he was written to serve. It's like we're kind of just like throwing this guy in here because people were like, I like that guy. Maybe it's not that. We only got one scene. I'm hoping it's like a little more intricate than that. But you saying that it's show original and it's like cut content from the comics makes me like a little weirded out that maybe people were just like, I really like that devil guy, and they were like, we'll bring him back. Like, the show's gonna go nuts.
True. Yeah. Other than that, I have nothing else to really talk about.
I just really quick want to talk of that point too. I'm not that excited, to be honest, about it. Now especially hearing that it isn't, it is show driven. I just feel like I'm gonna leave it at this too. I don't know how much more I want to get of Invincible as far as these seasons. I love an episode like this, and I'm so grateful that we're getting episodes like this. But not to say this season was bad, but like I just how much further can we keep put? I know that like, and I know in the story content there's a lot. Like I keep seeing this picture of like all 3 books and we're this far in. But like I also am like, all right, how much further can we take this? And like the whole ending as a whole, seeing a lot of these characters that we've again seen before, but now we know are either coming back or still alive. Part of me is just like I feel like we could just pick 2 or 3 of these characters and then maybe focus on like the bigger story at hand and start to wrap that up. I don't know. That's just like a personal thing. So as far as like the whole L story, like I'm like, it's cool. I'm like, oh, like this could be interesting, but I'm also starting to be like, damn, how many villains does my boy really need to go? Like, can we bring his dad back? I haven't seen him in a little bit, right? So like, I don't know. I'm excited to see what can come of it, but like, I don't want Invincible to get too dragged out. And I don't know the story, so I don't know if that's even like a valid like opinion or a thing to say.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to end up too long.
I completely understand where you're coming from because I agree with you. I think like this episode was almost like unfortunately a surprise, if that makes sense.
Yes,
like it came out and I was like, wow, man, like that was so good. And I didn't feel that strongly about the rest of the season, and I agree with you. I don't think it's bad. I really don't. I think it's a perfectly enjoyable season of television with really high highs.
Yes,
but there was a point somewhere in the middle of this season where I was like, do I really care? I was like I don't know if I really give a shit. And I think the reason for that is because these kind of episodes that come around and like those plot lines that you're talking about, the Viltrumites, Omni-Man, the broader scheme, it's muddled by comic book nonsense that I think doesn't fit the tone that like these high highs emulate. So it's like I brought it up with you guys. I brought it up with Mark last week when we were talking about like the new cast and how like the whole like world of the show is kind of expanded, and I do like that we see some of those people still at the funeral, so I know it wasn't a one-off. Like the guy voiced by Jonathan Banks was there, the like Iron Man adjacent looking guy that killed Mark single-handedly in space was at the funeral. So I'm hoping that they grow the world in that same way and bring these people together and have them do bigger stakes stuff. But then they leave on this cliffhanger with the fucking Mars things and the like devil or whatever, and it worries me because I don't think that I will enjoy sitting through episodes like episode 5 of this season after this. It's like I feel like we've gone past that. Like we are not at a level anymore where I want to see Mark struggle against a giant centipede like under the ground. Like I don't want to see him fight like a Chinese dragon and then lose it like after this, like it just feels like the show has crossed a threshold that it shouldn't go back to. But then we're left with this setup of like, nope, we're gonna go back to the street level stuff, right? As season 4, episode 1, he's gonna fight Toilet Man. Here he comes. Like I don't care. Like I don't care about that. And if that's gonna be most of the show, still, I don't really care. I'm with you. I don't really give a shit. So we'll see.
Last comment, because you just reminded me. Okay, I know episode 5 with the dragon at the prison. That was weeks ago. Mark and I covered that. I know it was weeks ago. But now, dude, I don't know if y'all remember. That dragon impaled him. Like the dragon claw went through his entire torso and rib cage and impaled him. And I was thinking about it because I'm like, wow, Conquest really beat the shit out of Mark, and Mark's like almost dead. That dragon should have killed Mark. Also, how in the next... I know, then again, also, this was weeks ago. I should have said this on the podcast weeks ago. But Mark then just like gets healed. Like in the next shot, he's like, oh yeah, I didn't have a huge fucking claw go through my entire body. Like he's just he just has like a cut on his face. Like,
I feel like there's a thing that the show won't explain with Viltrumite like healing factor.
Yeah.
Like they've got to have like a Wolverine thing going on. And like every piece of evidence points to that. I don't think they've like ever said that though.
Conquest is just a normal head in like a couple
right,
weeks.
it's like what's going on? And then every time that one of them gets injured, they wake up in the same like USAID hospital every single episode. Like they wake up in the Pentagon and they're just like, yeah, we have some great nurses help you out. It's like, what is going on, dude? Like I'm cool with it, but just explain that. Like explain that to me. And like
That's so true.
yeah, it's all sorts of shit and it's just kind of like established. I just want like one scene where someone's like yes, because of our medical technology or whatever. Like we have that stupid scene with Robot and Monster Girl where he's explaining like the science of how like the belt breaks the curse or whatever. It's like we have that scene, but not something about how like Rex gets shot in the head and then the next episode it's like, oh man, I have a headache. Like glad you guys sewed that up for me. It's like, you know, like I need like some kind of fucking explanation for this. Yeah. So I don't know, whatever. Minor gripe. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm with you on the fact that the inconsistencies with what Mark is doing and then how badly it affects him are like threatened to be show ruining to me. I'm not gonna lie, because even the pilot, the first episode of this season is the most egregious example of that, where it's like Mark has become 180% stronger than he has been in past seasons. He is so fucking powerful now, and like the first fight he gets in, he's like, oh no, like I've been captured. And you know, and then the fucking like robot guys have to come and help him. Yeah. And then but then he slaughters all the robot guys. So it's like the show just decides like how important or how powerful Mark wants to be, like based on you know, what the show needs to happen. And the whole like I was holding back excuse will not work anymore. We're past that. He just said I'm gonna kill anybody that threatens my family. So if fucking episode 1 John DiMaggio's elephant beats up Mark, I'm gonna be pissed off. I'm not taking it anymore. So whatever. I mean, listen, I'm assuming things. I'll try my best not to, but the track record thus far, dude, I have the potential to get my freaking comic book watcher rage, my nerd rage is gonna come out, dude. I'm gonna lift my jagged finger and go, that's not right, and push up my glasses and get pissed off. Whatever.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm good. That was great.
Alright, man. Any last final thoughts?
I have nothing.
I'm done.
You good? Alright.
Do we do a score for Invincible season?
Oh, true. I guess we should do an overall season score. Yeah, for a rating, like a final rating for the season, I would probably say like a 7 out of 10. Because I think when the show is like when it's running on all cylinders, it's like prime Invincible. I think it could be a 10. It's just that I think there's a lot of like meandering and mediocre stuff that I like don't really care about, that I'm just kind of biding my time to get to the cool stuff. But I think there's enough of it in this season, and there's enough of it at the end of the season, especially with these 2 final episodes, that it's really worth it to get through. I mean, you if you're anything like I think the 3 of us, then you'll probably roll your eyes once or twice at some of these scenes, some of these episodes. But generally speaking, I think it's perfectly enjoyable television with occasionally exceptional moments.
That's gonna be tough actually, because I forget what I gave season 2. I do think this is better than season 2.
I agree.
But I think I gave season 2 actually a really high rating, just because at the time I was just like, nothing was airing and I was like, oh my god, this is really good. And also at the time too, because season 2, a lot of it focused on the college life, you know, that weird transitional period between childhood to adulthood, which I was kind of there. I was like, oh man, Mark, I'm literally him, right? So I had high praise for that, but this is better. I'm gonna give this, you know what, I'm gonna give it like a low 8. Like a light 8.
Soft 8.
Yeah, soft 8. That's gonna be my rating.
Love that.
That's valid. I'm like, it's funny because I'm like right in the middle. I think I'm gonna go right in the middle. Actually, I'm gonna give it a 7.5, just because I feel like I agree the season was better than last season, and I probably would rate last season like a 6.5, 7-ish, and I give this season a step up. I'd even almost like teeter on to 8 out of 10, just because of this last episode. I feel like last season, I appreciated the Angstrom finale that we got, but like Angstrom finale, Viltrumite finale, you know, it's so I'm gonna stay at 7.5.
Right. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this review of Invincible, season 3, episode 8. I guess season 3 kind of as a whole. Check out the rest of our YouTube channel, viewer. We have so many things. If you're watching television, we're probably covering it. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok, I believe. We are on X, I hope. Are we on X?
I don't even know. I'm gonna be honest.
We're gonna be on X. We're coming. We're gonna be on X. So get ready to follow us on X if we are on there or not. I'm sure we probably are. Check out our reels. We're doing reels now. We're covering news. We are about to break into micro shorts. We're doing everything, guys. It's incredible. Do you know how cool Culture Wave is? I've been Sean Villa, and I've been joined by
Mikey Peniston.
And Vinny Albano.
Thank you so much for watching. We will see you soon.
This is The Culture.